Huh. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm cool, but I somehow did something to my back and still trying to work through it, you know. Other than that, I'm cool, man. Like just I gotta probably I gotta figure something out. I don't know what I did. I think I slept like in my car the wrong way or something. Like just kind of like dozed off in my car, and my back has been just like tripping, man. Like you know, I went to the doctor yesterday. They said that's probably what it was, you know, like, and so they gave me some painkillers or Tylenol, but I don't like not like being able to, you know, move freely. Of course, no one wants to be hurting or whatever, but
Yeah.
but I'm cool. I'm glad to finally get you on here, man. This is rad, man. Oh man, you're cutting out. Let me see. Hello?
Yeah, I'm
Can you
here.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Word. But no, how are you doing? How are you doing?
I had a long, busy day. We actually went to see Julius Garvey at the Free Library down here. So that was really cool.
That's awesome, man. Man, it's a trip. Mind if I introduce you? It's getting, I don't know why you gonna see my bald head. For some reason, it got real hot in here.
There you go.
Man,
But you and Kylie.
yeah, I know, right? Cali's been unpredictable. Sometimes it's been like real cold, and then like today, like I don't know what it is, man. We got schizophrenic weather, but you guys got seasons out there.
It was a little warmer today, but it was chilly. It's chilly tonight.
Man, any snow yet?
Oh, we had plenty of snow. I'm hoping that it's done.
Man, well, shoot. I'm gonna introduce you, and I hope I do a great introduction. I'm gonna try to go slow because I'm like totally giddy, like I'm all excited. I got the button, y'all. I got my Culture Rock Griot button.
Oh,
Man, I gotta put it under the light. Your daughter sold it to me.
yeah.
She was real like on it too. I'm like, yep, she's a businesswoman. You guys, man, we're gonna talk about all that, like all like your little ones and just what they're doing as well. But just to introduce you guys, introduce cats like Samantha Hollins. Pretty much is my rock and roll sister. That's what I call her. I've been calling her that for a while because I really appreciate just even the support that that she gave me, you know, like in Black history of rock and roll and just in general, like there's a lot of things, you know. Um, it's a trip. Oh, 1 second. 1 second. I'm so sorry. Somebody at work. Um, sorry. So sorry. That's so embarrassing. They're just trying to get at me and I'm like, yo. All right. So let me introduce you. So sorry, I'm all like, no. Samantha Hollins is a Renaissance woman. She is a publisher, a writer, a singer, songwriter, guitarist, multi-instrumentalist, I should say that. Black rock excavationist,
I love
radio
that.
host at WHGE 95.3 FM. And man, and oh man, if I left anything, oh, a documentarian too. So yeah, let me know if I left anything. Oh no, I did. She also runs. How could I not forget this? Because this is one of the reasons that I'm here. She runs the Culture Rock Griot, as well as she's a part of a band called the Rocksploitation Band that includes her family, her husband Ronan, and her kids that she's in the band with. Jim Bay, and I'm forgetting all the kids' name. I remember Jim Bay's name, but
Yeah.
oh my God.
Jim Bay,
Oh
Clave, Bay, and Lilo is our photographer and videographer.
yeah, man. Um, And yeah, she hosts a radio show. Oh, I already mentioned that, but I didn't mention the time. In Wilmington, Delaware, the WHGE 95.3 FM, Wilmington, Delaware, Saturday 3 to 4 p.m. Uh, Check that out, man. And also her own project, Ghetto Songbird, which is her name. I was wondering if that's how I met you. I was trying to figure out where I met you. Was it through Afropunk under that name?
Yeah, it's Afro punk. Because I remember
Yeah.
Odd Rock. Yeah.
Yep. Odd Rock. And then a lot of people don't know that I was also O, like HU, O with an exclamation mark.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
kind of like,
Why?
yeah, that was me. A lot of people, it's crazy, huh? Yeah, and then I
Oh,
switched to Odd Rocker later on when they kind of upgraded the site,
yeah.
and I'm like, well, let me just go by that name. But yeah, so let me know if I missed anything. Sorry about the interruption with the person at work, man.
It's all good. No, you didn't miss anything. If you did, it's because I'm still figuring it out as I go along. That's what happens for me.
Man, well, you've had an interesting journey, and with that, I'm gonna actually start with what you're doing now because you've always been involved in a lot, and I've only read a few things, but I have a lot more things to ask you about things that you are not only have been involved in, but what you're involved in now. So with that, I want you to talk about what you're doing now because I know it's a lot.
Besides homeschooling my children,
Wow.
I am homeschooling my children. And in the midst of that, I try to get the Culture Rock griot work and platform thriving. I do that with a lot of research every day. As soon as I wake up, I get right at my research and I look into that. Meanwhile, I have to write my radio show on Friday so I can be prepared for Saturday. So yes, it's always a lot going on every week. And it's called Wilmington Renaissance Radio Show. I'm the host of that show in Wilmington, Delaware, Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And I bring local artists, people that are musicians, griots like us, are into anything that uplifts our culture. And I bring people like that on the show. I don't like to call it interview, more of a conversation, and we have conversations and relations, and we learn about each other and what we're doing and how to continue to empower what we do, because it is never easy to do this work, and it is not considered the popular type of thing. Like when I told you that we just saw Julius Garvey today, Marcus Garvey's son, and it wasn't
Amazing.
packed as it should have been. Now there's artists and entertainers that comes to this library all the time and they be packed. And I'm like, man, we just witnessed something so historic and there was only a handful of us there. And I appreciate those moments. And I love to tell those stories so people can know that that's happening.
Yeah, that's really cool, especially like when there's someone like that that should be known in history. I think especially when it comes to like our history, a lot of people still go unsung. And it's one of the reasons I feel, and we've talked about this, that like we do what we do as far. And I'll be honest with you, you do a lot, man. I feel like, man, I don't even know. Like I feel like I'm slagging, man, with all the stuff that I've seen you do. This woman, man, you guys, I kid you not. Shouts to Afro Goth Aesthetic. I see you out there, and man, she's been putting in that work for a long, long time, man. Like seriously. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on, but yeah, keep on letting us know.
It's a thing where you've been putting in the work for a long time as well. Actually, you were doing your platform before the Culture Rock Griot. So I feel like we kind of keep each other inspired and motivated, and we have our own lanes. And I love what you do because everything you do, I kind of feel like it's like yours is going this way and mine is kind of going that way. And somehow it meets together because they're both so unique. So I love your platform as well. And it's great to be here.
Man, well, I'll say this. You've inspired me a lot. Even like I don't even think that I listed birthdays before, not like when I formed the group, but you're definitely an inspiration for that too. Because I think more people should know. And I'm not always up on it like you are. Like seriously, like sometimes I'd be late, like when it comes to the birthday thing, like and it's awesome, man. Like, but the thing that I dig about the Culture Rock Griot, for all you guys that don't know and have not added Samantha Ghetto Songbird, um, you guys need to add her, because she not only like talks about like things that she doesn't just do it in print. She's about that life. Like, she'll go to a place of where certain historical things. That's why I christened her that Black Rock excavationist.
Love,
I said it in metaphor. I know you're a writer too, so I know you knew what that meant.
yes.
But I just feel that you excavate a lot of this stuff. Like, you will go to like grave sites of Rosetta Tharpe or Jimi Hendrix, and you'll go all over, overseas to Botswana and document that scene over there, you know, and then, you know, talking about the Zamrock psychedelic stuff too, which you and a few other, maybe you were like one of the few people that I knew aside from myself that was like into that stuff. And it was really cool that you met the guys from We Intend to Cause Havoc and stuff, you know, and just, man.
And when we tell these stories, it's like trading cards, because you talk about Zamrock and I talk about it, and we keep like going back and forth, and I learn new things from you when you tell your story, because you have a different way of telling your story, and it's compiled of a lot of information. I know you must research very hard to get all that information, and if something is not right, you go back in and you correct it. I love it, and I love being able to share those stories. Like, I went to Seattle, Washington to see Tina Bell's band Bam Bam, and
Man,
2018, 2019, but there was a tribute show, and all these amazing Seattle artists came together, and they just represented. And I learned those stories from watching the young ladies in Brazil tell those stories. And when I saw them tell those stories, I was like, well, we should be talking about Tina Bell here, because at the time, no one was really talking about her.
nope.
Out to Scotty Ledgerwood, the bassist that played with Tina Bell. He interviewed him. Next thing you know, I'm popping up at his show. And we're looking at each other like, I can't believe I'm here, and he can't believe. It was crazy, but I love being able to travel and witness history and be able to share the history, especially the shows that are not being covered or the events that are not being covered. It is so important. Representation, as they say, is important. Well, I'm a
Yep.
represent as much as
And you
and
seriously having shots?
it's definitely
Oh man, you're
culture.
cutting out. Oh, say that again. I'm so
I
sorry.
said
Say that again.
it's definitely for the culture.
Yeah, you totally, and that's the thing I like about what you're doing too. You're representing as a culture, representing it as a culture, because people will just say it's music, and rock and roll for us is a culture. And people that like, this is the thing, and it's the debate that's going on now with another form of music that we've created, but I'm just gonna keep it rock and roll here. People don't understand that this comes out of our culture when it comes to like basically the things that we've struggled with and celebrated. You can't get it away from that. One of the things that I noticed in the last few interviews is just the common thread, even between from what the earlier rockers did and even what people did before, like Memphis Minnie and you know, like Rosetta Tharpe or anybody that was around before the quote unquote years of rock and roll, 50s, which we know we go further back than that. Is the common thread between what influenced them and also to now. Like, I like the fact that even me and Kitten were talking about how, you know, things like gospel, it still comes out. Like, and P. Michael said the same thing within even death metal or heavy metal and stuff like that. Blues, gospel, and jazz is all through the music, no matter how extreme. I just like that common thread, you know, like I've always saw that. I'm curious. I know I kind of know that what you think, but I'd like you to say, sorry, I'm like getting giddy. I'd like you to basically like say what you think about it, you know.
I was never a church girl per se, but I've been to church as a child, and that rumble and the drum reminds me of the way they play metal. I hear it in punk, and I surely hear it in rock and roll. But if you want to take it further back, those African drums, starting over into the west and to the east, down to the south, you hear different variations of that in the music. And then not only that, the things that we wear, the hair, the makeup, all of that, the stud right here, all of that is a cultural thing. Even the earrings that they wear that pulls the earlobes down, I've seen all of that as a cultural thing that the diaspora has brought here and that they get from, it's funny, like a pity pat type of thing. The things that we brought over here, but there were already some of us already here, so it was embedded before that. But
Yep.
still, for us who go back and visit, we're seeing the exchange of culture kind of recycle itself because they're even watching us over here. When I go to Botswana, they study the rock scene over here, and all they know is the mainstream rock music. So to be able to go there and talk on a TV show or something like that about the Black history of rock and roll, to quote you, that's amazing.
That's so cool too. And it's, speaking of P. Michael, what's up? He just showed up in here. We're talking about the same thing, man. Like it all comes out. And the thing is, it's like cats just they'll look at things over here and say, well, that kind of came from like white America. But what some of them don't realize, and shouts to Frank Biong too. Yeah, I'll say this, as a foundational Black American, original Black American, we created that avenue, but at the same time, we also celebrated a lot of what they've done. You know, like even just kind of like, hey, you know, like we always kind of put forth that olive branch. So it's cool that you're showing them like, hey, you know, like this is not so foreign to you in that regard. You know, like this is something that, you know, you'd be surprised isn't more of a European thing, you know, than it's brought off, you know. P. Michael says catching feelings. Hey man, we're talking about that thread that we're talking about. You know, P. Michael, you know, he was in the band Oh No, and he was, you know, in the interview he talks about like basically like people will say all the, you know, cats because they're very experimental. And I'm gonna talk about you too because you have an experimental angle as well. But he's like, man, I'm just playing rhythm and blues, and the same thing, man. Cats don't understand the interpretation of it. Oh, he knows Preston too, by the way. He says Preston in Kenya turned me on to you.
Awesome.
Man,
Yeah, I love
that's dope.
I love those guys.
Speaking of, what's the deal with Overthrust? Like, how, tell everybody about that, and also how we could contribute. And yeah, P. Michael, this is, I was telling you about, she's actually documenting Overthrust. So we want to expound off of that?
Overthrust, those are my brothers from another. I've traveled with them on the road from Maun to Hansi and Botswana. So being able to like be the only female in a van situation with a whole bunch of guys, including my bandmate Chris Nelson, you get to know each other. And the thing that I love about them, they are very down home brothers. They took care of me. Every time I'm there, they take care of me. But you would never know that as soon as they get on stage, thrashing out.
Death metal. I like that. You know I'm into that stuff.
Yeah. But it's a total different vibe off stage, and they're very into their culture, and they implement that into their music. If you listen to the guitars in their music, yes, it thrashes out and it rumbles like heavy metal, but you also hear undertone of the Twasini guitar playing, and you hear undertone of the way they interpret drums. So it has a different feel. And they have an album out right now too, so check that out. I believe it's on all platforms where you can buy music.
That's so cool, man. What's up with, is it, I thought it was like a film that you were doing on them, or like, what's up, Musavier? Speaking of Africans, what's up, brother? I see you out there. But was it a film or kind of like just like on the road type thing, or?
Since 2019, I've been documenting my journey over there, and I've been 3 times, 2019, 2023, and 2024. So I don't know what it will become, but it's a documentation of Overthrust as well as the other bands over there and the culture that we had an opportunity to exchange.
That's awesome. P. Michael said that he said, hey, I'm just talking. I'm sorry. 1 second, Musavi. I'm gonna get to yours. He said we toured with Duma and Masama, Dream World in the Midwest. There are do you know who those guys are or that band is? I want to hear him because he was telling me about them.
Duma, I actually had that T-shirt, and I was going to wear that. I saw them in Philadelphia, where I'm originally from, about a few years ago, and man, they were amazing. It's like I can't even explain it, but imagine a DJ with all these sounds just going around, and you hear distorted guitars. It was amazing. So yeah, I know them brothers. I got a chance to meet them and interview them. I have so many interviews that I have not released. I'm not like you. They come, but I feel like they're going to all become some type of documentation that I'm going to put together about everything. I'm taking my time with it because I really respect the culture, and what I never want to do is exploit it.
No, I understand. But I'll say this, I got more videos too. I got a lot of videos that I haven't uploaded even to YouTube. So I understand.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of entries. You notice I haven't written too many. I mean, the sister girl one went with a video. That's the only entry I've done in, man, almost, yes, it's months. I don't even remember the last entry I did. So you're not the only one. Don't even trip, man, because you're doing a lot. You know, you're doing a lot, but you're not the only one. I need to put out more than I have, so I get what you're saying. Man, but we know that you're doing that good work. But that's awesome. Yeah. I gotta check out Musavi and say, hey, I'm just taking a quick peek as all is well. Thanks, brother. Thanks a lot. We got I could never see Vivkov Skoljep. I could not say her name. She was on here last night. Shouts to you too. Man, I don't have my I couldn't find my glasses before I'm rushing. That's one of the reasons I was late, and I'm sorry for that. I'm like, man, forget the glasses. Man. So another thing that I saw on the Culture Rock Griot page was you were involved in a play called Three Men, Three Women, Stories of Six Strangers. What's that all about? I'm curious.
Do your homework. I was the stage manager for that play. Again, a lot of times I just be minding my business and just floating through creative spaces, and then all of a sudden someone says, I need you to do this. And I'm like, oh goodness. So my introvert side is like, I don't want to do it. But then something tells me it's the reason why you're being asked, and I go for it. So yes, I was the stage manager of that play, an amazing playwright here in Wilmington, Delaware called Omar Rashida. And just to be a part of that, and he had my children as actors in there as well, my two oldest. So to be a part of that, again, history, the type of history that people don't realize thrives underground. Everything is not in the mainstream. I love being underground. I love being around underground artists because we just have a different vibe about us and how we go about presenting our art. So yes, that play was basically a stage manager, and then I went on to do other stage management. So it's a thing now.
That's so cool. Reminds me of something else that I realized I didn't know too much about, even though I know you do the radio show. I didn't know that you were actually into broadcasting long before you start doing the radio show until I did some more research. Even though I know you, I'm still going to do research on you anyway. How did you get into broadcasting? And it's funny because I like the fact that like it's almost like that blessing that's just like, okay, you got this kind of thing that you did in school maybe, but like you end up going into something totally big, like what you're doing at Wilmington. How did you get into broadcasting, and how did you become, I want people to hear the story about the becoming the host of the Wilmington show, Wilmington Renaissance. Sorry, I keep like, I keep tripping over my words.
That's all good. The story behind my radio career started way before it started. In 1990, I to Philadelphia. And one of those things, I just wanted to be an artist. And my mama said to me, girl, if you're going to be an artist, you got to do something with your life. So she found the place called the Art Institute of Philadelphia on a commercial on TV, and she said, I'm taking you. I was like, I don't want to go. She said, oh, you're going. So we get there, and I'm seeing all this recording equipment, all this TV equipment, radio, film. I was like, okay, I am there. Yes, and I learned how to the old school way, analog way of doing radio when you splice it. Yes. And you put it direct
Wow.
your own commercials. So I went through that style of radio. And somehow I think I just put it out of my mind as far as doing that. And I kind of put all that I learned in my pocket because once I graduated from there, I was focused on being an artist. And I became Ghetto Songbird. So all these years of Ghetto Songbird, and it, it leads me right back to where I started, which is radio, film, and television. And the Wilmington
Far out.
radio show came about. I was a guest on someone's radio show, which was the Wilmington Renaissance radio show, Janice King, here in Wilmington, Delaware. And after the interview, she said, I am about to move on and I need someone to replace me. And
What?
I'm
That's
like, well, congratulations to you. I didn't think she was talking about me. And she said, it's you. You got the I'm like, oh my goodness. So I said, does this mean that I no longer have my Saturdays to rest? Because I'm homeschooling my children during the week. So I value my Saturdays to rest and watch my shows and stuff like that. And again, the introvert in me said, you can't do that. You're not a talker. It's how you're going to talk to people. And I said, you know what? I've done this before in a different way. I'm going to say yes. And I said yes. I interned with her for about 4 shows. They trained me for the first show, and I was pretty much on my own after that, with errors and everything.
man. How was because I'm from the West Coast, I mean, I don't know how the radio shows. How long has Wilmington Renaissance been around, and who's Janice King? Like I read about her when I'm looking when I was I'm sorry. I remember you mentioning her with the interview that I was listening to you over, but I don't really know much about her. And like also, how long had the radio show been around before?
Janice King is a visual artist here in Wilmington, Delaware. And she's like a Renaissance woman. That's why she named it the Wilmington Renaissance Radio Show, because she loves the arts in general and she wanted to promote artists. So when I took over, I honored what she was doing and added my spin on it. And Janice King is still thriving here in Wilmington, Delaware. She's originally from Brooklyn, but she travels here, there, and she does something called wearable art. And again, she picked me to be in her fashion show. I was like, I've never mind. That is not me. And once again, it's like, you're doing it. So I did it, and it felt good. But that's who Janice King is, and she's amazing.
That's awesome. That what a trip, man! And it's just through an interview, man. See, it's just those doors, man. That's awesome.
And also, the Wilmington Renaissance Radio Show is on WHGE 95.3 FM, which is the first and only Black-owned radio station in Delaware.
Wow, man. Thanks for that's things that we need to know. I didn't know, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, and just for having that legacy too, and being a part of that legacy, it's a good thing. But it's funny how you pretty much were prepared for that, and it just like being in the media, TV and radio and stuff. That's a trip, man. Perfect opportunity.
Dr. Harmon Curry is the owner of the radio station.
Man, awesome. So I'm gonna have to go back. How far back? Way back, and it goes a little something like this. Hit it. So, what's your earliest? I have a 3-part question, but I'm trying not to do that. I always do that because that's a bowl of yarn. So I'm gonna try to just take it one by one. What's your earliest memory of just any music, and what got you into rock? Well, okay, let's just start with the first one, and then I'll do the other one. I always bowl of yarn everything.
Yeah.
But what's your earliest memory of just getting into music?
My mother bought a Jimi Hendrix poster when I was a little girl, and I'm like, who is this? And she said, Jimi Hendrix. I put it on my wall, didn't really know much about him until later on through her album collection. He had a very extensive album collection. Sly and the Family Stone, Santana, P-Funk. Oh man, just about anything you can imagine back in that time that was like really the hot. Because back in the day, those stations, those radio stations played a lot of everything on one station. It wasn't just a Jimi Hendrix song. You can hear a Jimi Hendrix song on the same station as a Miles Davis song. So I was into a very wide range of music. I love Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan. I used to collect those jazz tapes from Woolworth. We had a store here in Philadelphia on the East Coast called Woolworth. So I would go there and collect Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Billie Holiday. And I really got into those voices as far as the sound, the vocal tone. But as far as the music, P-Funk, Sly Stone, Jimi Hendrix, Santana.
Man, that's amazing. And with that, I have to ask this. I guess you kind of answered it when you said Jimi Hendrix. Specifically, what made you not only get into rock, but and I'm sure your mom. I wanna ask questions about her, but also what made you really want to start playing rock and roll in that regard too.
I don't think I ever really planned on playing rock and roll. I wanted to write songs. I'm a writer first. I love writing. That's my heart. And I wanted to make sure my songs were going to get out there. I wanted Whitney Houston and people like that to sing my songs. But I was like, you know what? Whitney Houston not knocking on your door. So you're going to have to go out and sing those songs. So I had a guitar player by the name of Hassan, who used to be in a rock band. And well, actually, he wasn't in a rock band at the time. He was in a duo, an R&B duo, a soulful duo. I forgot what they called themselves. But he would play the guitar with me. So he learned that I wanted to do some music that was more like rootsy. I was starting off with a reggae vibe. Then it turned into like a punk reggae vibe. Then I noticed the chords that I was choosing for him to play just turned out to straight rock and roll. And he was having a lot of fun with me. And next thing I know, he said, I'm going to start my own rock band. And it was called Wicked. I was like, well, can we finish a few gigs we have before you go off and start your band? He said the band was ready and he was ready to get going. So I was like, okay, I need a guitar player. So I remember I was on Black Planet, and there was this guitarist by the name of Gypsy, Black Gypsy, he called himself. I said, okay, I'm going to reach out to Black Gypsy. I reached out to Black Gypsy, and he said he was down. I said, but where are we going to rehearse at when I come to New York? Because the shows were in New York. He said, but I don't have a rehearsal space, but we're going to figure it out. So I would get up to New York, and we would rehearse in the park, and then we would go to different events and perform. But then I remember what happened to me. I was like, you know what? I better pick up the guitar myself just in case this happens again. And that's when I started playing the guitar. And just the music came out the way it came out. It was never a conscious decision. And I believe it's based on everything that I was listening to.
Man, it's a trip too, because you played piano earlier on, right? Like, and just that was like your first instrument aside from singing, obviously.
Yeah.
Are there any other instruments that you play?
I can play my hands.
I heard that. That's all of us. I was just wondering,
Yeah.
as far as guitarists, like which guitarist, like kind of like, I don't want to say influence, but kind of inspired you, like just even if there is influence, like just what guitarist or even just any kind of musicians. You mentioned Billie Holiday, and like what guitar players, I'm just curious, like, and of course Miles Davis. I mean, man, me and my question, sorry, which guitar players kind of got your like basically influenced you? I'm so sorry. What's wrong with me, man?
Early on, I was hypnotized by the Barcades because my mother had a relationship with the guitar player. The guitar player was someone she actually brought into the band because she found out that they were looking for a new guitar player, and she knew of a brother by the name of Lloyd Smith from Philadelphia that plays that guitar nice. So ever since I can remember as a little girl, I knew that music was on, and we watched them on Soul Train, and I just wanted to play. I didn't know if I wanted to play the guitar, but you know how you do the air guitar back then? Yeah, I air guitar to that, but it was never a thing I want to play the guitar. I wanted to play the air guitar to that. And I think later on when I actually started playing the guitar, Wah Wah Watson was a huge influence. And I actually met Wah Wah Watson in Atlantic City. It was after a Maxwell show, and I don't think I ever told this story. Wah Wah was looking to go to his room and have some fun. But I told Wah, I'm not there for that. I want to sit down and talk to you about the guitar. He said, oh, you play? I was like, yes, I play the guitar. And I said, I want to have a conversation with you about the guitar and learn whatever I can in a little bit of time you can give me. He said, in that case, sit down. He sat me at a slot machine, and we talked about the guitar. He gave me advice. We played one round of games. And I told him that I was also shooting a music video at the time. So he wound up giving me the money that we won to go towards my music video.
That's dope. That's
Yes.
mad cool, man. You- wow, that's so cool. P. Michael says Barcade is cool. It's cool. Wawa is cool.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna say this, P. Mike. I'm gonna put you out there. You know he's related to Pete Cosey, who played with Miles Davis,
Ah, okay.
and with him like the Howlin' Wolf and BB King's I'm sorry, yeah, Howlin' Wolf, not BB King. How could I forget this? This is what's wrong with me today. Oh my gosh, Muddy Waters on Electric Mud. He was the guitarist on there. You know,
Yeah.
like.
Mm.
And P. Michael said he saw them too. Like he saw those. You know, man, that's so cool, man. Like, yeah, my favorite. I love the Barcades, man. They're still underrated. You know, like the Black Rock album. I dug Soulfinger, but when I heard that Black Rock album, that just blew my mind, bro. And then the stuff that they did with Isaac
Yeah.
Hayes is still heavy in its own way. You
Yeah.
know.
That was a whole new, well, whole old version of the Barcades with Isaac Hayes, and it evolved later on in the '80s. The whole sound.
With Freak Show
Yes.
and or No Parking on the Dance Floor, did they do that one? I remember their 80s stuff too, because I was breakdancing to it. That's actually the first stuff I heard by them. And then I heard Soulfinger and all the 60s and 70s stuff later.
Yeah.
But man, that was some cool stuff, man. Speaking of people that you and I don't want to like be, let me start. I'm like all trying to do damage control. I know this is kind of a heavy thing, but Rosalie Parks.
Oh,
Rosalie Parks,
Ros-
I'm,
Rosalie
I'm
Brooks.
oh, my bad. What the heck? I have it written right here too, and oh man, what's wrong with me?
You
Dumb, dumb, dumb.
are.
Rosalie Brooks.
Yes.
So sorry about that.
It's all
What's wrong with today? Is not. Oh man, bloopers and interviews. I feel like thank you, thank you,
good.
Rosalie Brooks. A lot of people should know about Rosalie Brooks, and sorry for like getting your name wrong. People don't really know much about Rosalie Brooks. What can you tell them about her? I know some things, and via like just, well, I'll let you say it. I don't want to give it away, but I'm curious because you worked with her, and actually, I was laughing at what you wrote on your on the music page. 4 days turned into 4 months. 2 shows turned into a recording session. Explain this.
Rosalie Brooks. We're going to rewind back to Black Planet. I remember I was on Black Planet, and one day out of nowhere, they call them DMs now, but with message back then, got a message from somebody named Rosalie Brooks. And she says that you need to come out here, gal. I'm like, who is this? Then she showed me her page. She told me to go to the page and read it and check it out. And once I read it, you need to come out here. And I read it. I was like, okay, she worked with Jimi Hendrix. I don't know. I Googled her, or whatever Google was back then. I searched her. And it was real. I'm like, so she wants me to go out to LA. Never been out to LA at that point. In 2002, I just
Mm.
started in 2001, so I was still learning how to figure out the guitar and learning my voice. But she said the time is now, so I was taking care of children at the time, and I saw that that was coming to an end. So I took the last bit of money I had, got on the Greyhound bus, and I went to LA for the first time to meet this person named Rosalie Brooks. My mom was like, "Girl, you don't know who that is. That could be a murder or whatever." She's like, "You better be careful." But I had a good feeling about it, especially after doing my research. I got there, she picked me up, and the first gig we did was at the Gaslight in Santa Monica. You know that place?
I've heard of that spot.
Oh,
I've never been,
yeah.
but I've heard of that spot.
Yes, she did work with Arthur Lee. Now, that's a whole controversial story. I don't want to really put her out there like that because it's still delicate and she has family out there. But what she told me is that back in the early 60s, she was the recording artist. Jimi Hendrix was playing with Little Richard at the time. They met at a New Year's Eve event, and they fell in love and all that stuff. But out of all the women that Jimi Hendrix has ever had a relationship with, Rosalie Brooks was the only one that recorded with him. They came
Wow.
up with a song, him on the guitar, her with the vocals, and it's called My Diary.
And I love
So
the way you guys perform that, by the way. I saw Samantha perform this live, and it's amazing. I thought it was cool.
thank you. So when they recorded My Diary, they knew that they had to have a B-side, so they did the UT. And both of these songs are on a Jimi Hendrix project right now. The Seattle, what is West Coast Boy? I believe that's something. It's called something like that, but it's on that compilation of music. And I remember before she left this realm, she was so excited to have her music finally out there because she wrote this music way before Jimi Hendrix blew up. And
Man.
before, there's a small guitar solo at the end of the UT song, and she was so proud of that. But the thing is, Rosa started way before Jimi Hendrix as a recording artist, and long after Jimi Hendrix, she never stopped performing. She performed all the way up to her last human breath. And
Wow.
she always invited people like myself, unheard of artists, to come be a part of her circle and learn and teach us what we needed to know about them blues. Like when I got out there, I knew nothing about the blues. She
Mm.
made me sit down brother, James, I used to call him Uncle James, every day. He wouldn't teach me nothing. He said, I'm going to play rhythm and you're going to figure it out. What he did teach me was the bar chords. But after that, he said, well, the box chord. He said, you're going to figure it out. And they would have musicians come over all the time for jam sessions, and they would just throw me in there. I felt like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do, because some of these musicians have played with the best in the business, the Shaka Khans. There's Ricky Rouse, who played with Tupac, Shaka Khan. He played with P-Funk at some point too. A lot of heavy hitters, but there was also us that were still learning our craft, that were there observing and being put on the spot to sing. I remember one time I was singing and she got on me, like, that's all you can give me? You gotta give me something.
Uh-oh.
All these people, I'm like, oh my goodness. So glad that I had someone to do that for me, because that harsh criticism actually pushed me to stretch as an artist and not just be happy with what I thought I had.
That's like gladiator school, man.
Ah,
Like I would say gladiator school for musician. I mean, again, I'm so sorry. I actually had Rosalie Brooks on the paper. I don't know where my mind was. I feel horrible about that.
oh, it's right.
So sorry.
If you're thinking about Rosa Parks, that's all right.
Nah, but like seriously, I literally had, and I know better. I'm like, wait, I'm going too fast. That's like, I'm getting too excited. That's why, and I'm so sorry. I feel really bad about that. But yes, Rosalie Brooks, and that's so cool. So, with what you said, the 4 days turned into 4 months. So that was like your gladiator school, right?
Yes, yes, it was.
And then that
And
recording uh, of the Alley of the Earth come out of that, or was
yes,
that?
the recording came out of that, but those songs were written in 2001. And
Mm.
she just kept telling me to play songs at the gas light. Just play, just play, just play. And she heard those songs. She said, those songs need to be recorded. You ever think about recording those songs? I said, I don't know. I just didn't know what I was
Wow.
doing. So she called up one of her friends and put me in the studio in South Central.
South Central is awesome. I'm from LA, but I'm from like Long Beach, but I'm still like, I hang out in South Central too. But that's awesome. It's so cool that you had that experience, like especially from someone pretty much like a rock and roll godmother to you in that sense too, and just to have a legend like that, rock with you. P. Michael says, I remember that song. And the thing is, it's like, it's a trip how like a lot of the things that you've done, like the turn of events, and it just leads you to a door of other grand
Yeah.
things. That's what I like looking at things that I've read about you, as well as things that we've talked about. I'm like, that's really cool, man. I love seeing that. with that though, when you came back to Philly, were you in Philly or Delaware at the time?
Philadelphia, yes.
When you came, what's up, David Branscomb's in the house, man. One of the baddest drummers ever. I interviewed Dave like last year sometimes too. It's so cool to see you, man. I hope everything is well with you and your fam. Um, but when you came back to Philly, like how do you how could I say this? How do you feel like, I mean, do you feel like you are a changed person in regards to just performance and just like, hey, I got to get on stage. I got to come at this a different way. And also, me and my two-part questions with just your style in general, um, how do you feel like, I mean, how do you feel like it really stood out? Because I know, and we've kind of talked about this, there were some kind of differences. I mean, Philadelphia is known for a lot of great things, you know, like soul music, of course, their style of soul music, Gamble and Huff and all that. And even disco, I'll say a lot of disco was even born within that.
Yeah.
But also the whole neo soul thing, you know, which is, if it correct me if I'm not wrong, if I'm wrong, came from North Philly, you know, like a lot of those people, you know. So I'm curious, how was the change coming back to Philly from LA, that experience that you had?
I was a quiet, shy artist, the one who would like be in the back of the room, get on stage, do my thing, and then go disappear again before I went to LA. When I came back from LA, I was more ready. I was more prepared. I knew exactly what I was doing because prior to going to LA, I would always hope that I played right or sung right, that I was going to get it right. But when I came back from LA, I knew once I went over it, it was going to be good. And I came up on that whole neo soul scene. I thought that there would be a place for me because I didn't know where else to go. I didn't know about the rock scene. I knew about the Black Lily where Jill Scott, Jaguar Wright, uh, the Jazzy Fat Nasties, Bilal, Music Soul Child, all of them were there. So I'm like, okay, let me try it there. But it was so hard to be seen as a Black woman doing rock. They did have a rock group on the bill. I forgot what they were called. But me with my guitar was totally a different sound. I didn't have the neo soul element in there. But the one time that I did get on that stage, it was barely anybody there. But I remember the ones that was there, they were into it. And they said they should have didn't put you on the stage. What were they waiting for? And it made me just realize that I had to find another place. So I went to New York and I auditioned for this event called Singer-Songwriter Sessions. And they would have the events at the Bitter End, the CBGBs, the Elbow Room, places like that. And I found my way through there. Now, I was always the only Black woman doing rock there. And they used to always say, I've never seen a Black woman rock out or play the guitar. And I was like, I always say, well, there's more of us. And I went to find those more of us. And I brought those girls on with me in New York. And it was just a great time.
Was that, what festival came out of that? I remember, and I forgot to actually, man, I forgot what it was called. It was a festival that you started throwing as a result of
Yeah.
that. Correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
you're right. It was called Wingdom Fest.
Yeah.
I wanted to call it Stock Festival, but somebody
What
had
is it?
already.
What
So then I
were
changed
you gonna say?
the Hoodstock Festival. But somebody
Sick, man.
already, so I went for because it was going to be Hoodstock Wingdom. So I just cut the Hoodstock part off. And as you know, I have a song called Hoodstock Wingdom, but I cut the Hoodstock part off and just called it Wingdom Fest, Music Arts Fest.
That's awesome. That's so cool, man. And I mean, in a sense that, like, especially like when it comes to people using the terms alternative, you know, you can use terms avant-garde or whatever, or just, you know, postmodern Black artist.
Yeah.
Like, did you feel like, and to be honest, like a lot of neo soul, like it kind of reminded me, there's a lot of abstract elements to it. It's kind of strange that like it wasn't accepting of what you do, because your stuff is very different even in rock stuff. Like I like what what's her name? Mamata Tarina said she basically compared your style of music to Hindustani music. And when I saw you, I could hear the psychedelic elements and all that stuff.
Wow,
It's like you're.
wow, you you do your research. Yes. Interesting enough, there was I don't know if it was PBS or one of those stations in the city that's like in between the stations, and it used to have Bollywood come on. So I used to get into Bollywood and the music and everything. I was like, man, I love this. I love the way they played the drums, the strings, and I always wanted to play that way. But somehow I was trying to figure out how to bring it out of what I play the guitar. So yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, you have it's very hypnotic. There's some, because I like a lot of those, what people call, I don't like the term Oriental. That's such a horrible term type stuff, like, or Middle Eastern. It's still African either way, like a lot of it. People, I mean, just that style, like, so when I'm hearing some of the stuff that you're doing, I'm like, that's so freaking cool. There's one thing that you guys were jamming on was really heavy too. Like, and it had those, it was like those, a B minor type, like, almost like, man, it was in that vibe, and I was like, this is dope, and I wish I could remember it, but man, it was just like when I saw her say that, that's the first thing that came to mind, like, I'm like, yeah, she's and I didn't know that you were actually, I know you're into all kinds of music, but I didn't know that even the Bollywood stuff was an influence. For me, I'm watching you and it's just you, like, just exuding whatever you do, and it's really cool and energetic and exuberant and just mad cool, like, sorry, I'm like, me and my exclamations, man.
I got somebody here with me right now too.
Who is that?
Come here, my drummer.
Yeah! What's up, Ronan? One of the baddest freaking drummers ever, dude.
Hey,
What's up, bro?
going on?
Yeah. How are you? I dig the stash, man. We got something in common. Yeah. What's up, bro?
He trying to stay awake. You probably hear snoring in the background if you listen earlier in the interview.
And my whimsical laugh probably like woke him up. Dude, I have to ask you this, Ronan. Who are your drum influences, man? This guy's a...
Let's see. Let's start with the foundation for me, Earth, Wind, and Fire, because that whole group is a group of drummers. A lot of people don't know that's the secret to that group right there.
Yes.
The silent partner in this group, Charles Pedro, the original drummer from.
Wait, the original drummer for who? It cut off. Man, oh, he was in Mandro earlier? I didn't know that. Before Santiago.
Yeah, Charles Pedro. He's on the first two albums. And
wow.
He played. I mean, I don't think he's drumming too much anymore. I think he's doing photography or something. He's been doing that for such a long time. But yeah, those first two albums, if you really get into the music, of course, you gotta wonder, like, who's that drummer? Stuart Copeland.
He's a beast too.
Oh yes. Who else? Tiki Forward from Funkadelic, of course.
He's one of my influences, actually. Oh, that's so dope.
If anybody, especially hip hop, has gotten to Parliament samples, the Funkadelic samples, it's him. I mean, come on. Yeah. Mitch.
Heck yeah, Mitch is dope.
Have to get into Mitch. Sheila E., of course.
Wow, you got a lot.
Sheila E. If people really listened, Morris Day.
Yeah, Morris. It's funny. A lot of people don't know he played drum, but he played with Prince earlier on. Like, they used to jam out or whatever. I don't know if there's any recordings, but yeah, that dude's a drummer, man.
Yeah. Somebody told me, and Jimmy Jam Jimmy Jam verified it for me. Somebody told me years ago at an ASCAP meeting, he's from Minneapolis. He said there's a drum competition every year. Okay. And they said Morris Day would come there just in some gray sweats with a bag of sticks and wear everybody's behind out. And I had to ask Jimmy Jam some years later. I said, "Is that true?" He said, "Absolutely." I'm like,
Man.
well, there you go. So that's just to name a few of my influences, just a few. Because I could be here all day and just why somebody is and this, that, and the other. Omar Hakeem, I got to throw him in there.
Omar
I have to throw him
Hakeem
in.
is dope. That guy's a beast too, man. Like,
That stuff
man.
Dream of the Blue Turtles, you know.
Oh yeah, the Police Sting's album, right? Yeah, that's him all over that. Yeah. I remember when that came out. My parents had that album.
Yeah. He has a way of actually establishing a groove as if he's in the person's band.
Man.
Listen to this
That's
one,
so dope.
rest in peace, Victor Bailey, the bassist. He died in 2016. But listen to his album Low Blow. And the title cut is the first song on there. And Omar Hakeem is doing some stuff in there. It's just like, you're not even in the band, man. Who's going to play this? See what I'm talking about? Like, who's going to play this? And I've seen them do it live on video. I'm like, they're not playing that beat.
Omar Hakeem's like an alien, man.
Yeah. And it's interesting. There's only two drummers on Victor's album. It's him and Dennis Chambers. And I got
beastin'. Those are two beasting drummers, man. Dude.
songs on it. Omar, I have 4. And Dennis, man, he's a freaking monster. Oh my God. And a good guy. You're a good guy, man. Very cool.
Man. That's a trip, man. When you mentioned Tiki Forward, you also made me think of Miles. Miles Davis actually liked his drumming. I don't even know which album he worked with him on, but I remember reading something. He liked Tiki's foot.
Oh.
He said he had a quick foot.
Oh.
I gotta find out. I need to do my research about whatever somehow he knew Miles Davis and he played with him. Like after he kind of. Like before he passed, I know that, which is sad, man. But man,
yeah,
dude. Were you ever Tony Williams fan?
Oh yeah,
my bad. Sorry.
Oh yeah, Tony Williams, of course, Alex Acuna and Ayrton Moreira, because those cats right there. See, most people when they get into drumming, and rightfully so, when you do rock and roll or whatever the case is, emphasis is mainly on the 1, 2, 3, 4, or speed drumming, whatever the case. That's mainly the emphasis. But when you listen to other stuff, like Ayrton, it's just coming from everywhere. The center is, there's a 1, of course. But when you're doing like different time signatures and everything and still singing and playing, there's many years I grew up thinking that he did track to track. And so she was with me. There was a jazz club in Philly called Zanzibar Blue. And he came with his wife, Flora. And the only people they had with them was a pianist and a bassist. That's it.
Yes. Oh, amazing.
And we saw both sets, and he did this tambourine song, he calls it, where he chronicles, very theatrically, he chronicles the music coming from Africa and over to Brazil. It's very theatrical, but he performed the whole thing, just him, percussion, whistles. If you listen to a reggae, you would swear it was a bunch of other people playing
like
with
a
him.
marching band almost.
Yeah, he sounds like it's funny you mentioned the track, because even when I had Butterfly Dreams, I had another album too, but that Dr. Jive, the first version of that talk about some crazy funk. Now I break dance, I'm a b-boy too. I'm surprised no one's ever sampled that la 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 la, and of course Flora Purine's on that. what he's doing on drums, I mean, on that whole album, but that song is just like, how is he doing that? Yeah, there's some cats playing percussion, but he's doing a lot more than people even realize. So it's like, I totally understand what you mean by that. Yeah,
Right.
Arieto is a trip, man. I'm a Flora Purin. I like her voice too. You know,
Wow.
like,
Wow.
man.
It's like even Will Calhoun when Living Color had their break. He said he went over
Man.
and studied for quite some time. Like you'll hear a difference between his drumming in the early '90s as opposed to late '90s, 2000s,
Yes.
because he's learned more things. He's able to bring more stuff to the table, to the whole round, man.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah.
That's so cool. Cats just getting back to the roots, man.
Exactly.
P. Michael said Frank Kirkland was incredible. He was also the original. Did I say that right? No, my bad. Frank Kirkland, yeah, was incredible. He was the original Bo Diddley. I gotta look him up too. Man,
Then the
he be
original.
dropping some cool names, man. Like he listen to the interview that I did with him as well, man, because he had some names. I'm like, what? Let me jot this down. I got a list of cats anyway, but I need.
Speaking of rock and
That's what I
roll,
like about doing this, man. Like you guys, we all like we're building, and that's the whole point, man. That's what we do, you know.
you know,
Especially when it comes to this rock and roll thing, which cats can't be typecasted. We're all like, you know, we all have something different to add to it, you know, like just even musically and what we're doing with it, and it's really cool.
Mix
He said,
African and okay.
"Wow,
I'm gonna have to check that out.
you know who should be credited with drumming and
Who?
R&B and rock and roll. First of all, before I get into that one, I don't know his name and I have to figure it out. But Joe Tex drummer.
Mm.
Oh my God, that guy was so fast and tight. There's a performance of him on YouTube, and his drum is just right there, man. I'm like, who is this? And he's just tight, smiling and everything. Not make none of this. He's just his hands and feet, you know.
that's awesome."
And then who has to get a lot of credit for rock and roll drumming? Little Richard.
Oh,
Not
wait, he played drums too?
no,
I should know that. That's my family. I should know better than that.
Oh,
but he gave his drummer the instructions.
yes.
I remember seeing this. It was a documentary, Arts and Entertainment, when they used to sneak those real cool documentaries, a biography, I guess it was. And they had his drummer on there at the time. And his drummer said that Little Richard told him, "I want you to make the sound of the train."
Oh, wow.
You know, he said, "It'll be difficult, but I'll do it." And he was a lefty too. So when you hear that, that's Little Richard's instructions. And
That's a
everybody had,
trip.
Oh,
you know,
And
and it's hard
everybody
to play.
uses that beat till this day.
Salute the king, the emancipator, the liberator, the originator.
I got him right here. See, Little Richard.
Man, that's that's my grandma's cousin, man. Like, I
Oh,
don't know if I ever told you that.
yeah, you told me.
Wow.
Yes.
I never got a chance to see him. My uncles met him, but I've never met him before. And like, they're talking about family. I'm like, I wish I could have met him before he passed, you know. But yeah, that's a trip. My mom's from Macon originally, so it's like, you know, that's that whole family circle, you know, like. Man, that's insane. But I had no idea about the drum, man. And everybody, punk bands, everybody uses that drum
Yeah.
beat.
Yeah.
You cannot play rock and roll without that drum
Nope.
beat. You know, like that's pretty cool.
It's difficult to play because you're playing it on both hands at the same time. Most people are used to syncopating your hands and everything. It's literally with accents, and that's Little Richard's doing his instructions.
And that's
Sick, man.
be knowing his stuff. So it's easy to allow him to, I give him the blueprint and he flies. He brings that funk into it as well. Because prior to having Ronan as my drummer, I think I was trying to make more noise than actually groove. So when he came along, I started focusing more on groove along with the noise.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds Sounds awesome, man. I'm so glad that I was able to see you guys when you guys came to LA, man. And I'm like, you saw me smiling from ear to ear. Like I was digging it, man. Plus, you got your sons involved and your daughter involved, which is funny. The next question that I had, Joe Tex was insane. The Upsetters with
Yeah.
Little Richard. Yep, man.
Yep.
Man. That's so cool, man. All right. I want to talk about the Rocksploitation Band, how it came to be. Also, what made you guys name the Rocksploitation Band that? It's a very interesting name, and also I love the fact that you guys are. I don't even want to say this. I don't want to say the Rock and Roll Jackson 5 because it would not. It kind of would be like not giving you guys your originality, but you guys are the first Black rock and roll family that I've seen as a band. Literally, I can't find anybody else. Like, I mean, let me know. Like, I mean, there's family bands, you know, when it comes to like Black folks, like in a band, you know. I'm a Michael Jackson fan. I love the Silvers, you know, DeBarge, you know, as well. But thinking about as far as like rock and roll, the stuff that you guys play would go between like a lot of progressive and psychedelic rock too. I can't think of a family, especially Black families, that have done that. Sly and the Family Stone, I guess, but that was just like maybe him and his brother, but it wasn't like a whole family. You know what I'm saying? And that was a mixed band to, you know, like it was their friends and you know, him and his bro at one point. But I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
Hey, I never really thought about it.
No. You're right. You're right. There's many bands had at least another sibling in it.
Yeah.
But no, for rock and roll, no.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
I told my children at the Mint, I said, I feel like we're making some type of history, but I said, we probably learned about it later on down the line.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was the first one to say it, but that's one thing I thought about this too. And I had to ask you guys that question because, like, I love, like I said, I'm a Jacksons fan. I'm a Silvers fan. I don't like when people compare those two because they're totally different. I dig DeBarge, especially like, you know, like, yeah, me and P. Michael were talking about DeBarge would split, I'm tripping, switch, but that was like, you know, he was saying James Ingram brothers as well. But I like, you know, early DeBarge too, when there was just the family.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I actually like some of the Osmond stuff, but they're not like a Black family. But as far as family bands go, you know, when I'm thinking of just like a full scale rock and roll group, you guys are the first to like, huh?
Yeah, I was about to say the Ozzy Brothers would be the closest, but their emphasis wasn't
Oh,
rock
I forgot.
You know,
The Ivy Brother. You know what, man? That is. I don't know why they didn't come to mind. My dad would always. I mean, and I posted on Isley. Rest in peace to Jasper, by the way.
Peace.
But as far as like heavy psychedelic rock stuff, you guys are the first. Because I mean, your stuff, you do everything, but you guys go to the heavy places a lot.
Yeah. I love the heavy places.
You mix it up.
no, yeah.
But I love when you guys get there too, man. You know, I'm into that. That just like I'm hearing like a lot of even stuff that like I like the fact that what I don't hear, even though some metal drummers are going back to the jazz thing, but it wasn't like what they did in the late 60s, like with Mitch Mitchell and like Keith Moon and all that. But don't be surprised when, like, you remind me of those drummers from back then. That's why even Tony Williams, when he went and formed Lifetime, it made sense, you know, like even before, like, I mean, because a lot of those drummers looked up to him anyway. Like they loved the way he played, and him and Jack Bruce and John McLaughlin and Khalid Yashin or Larry Young formed that Lifetime. It was just basically psychedelic rock, but with a jazz drummer that wasn't cosplaying nothing. He was like the real deal. So I'm seeing you like in that category of just drummers like that, you know, like that have that late 60s, early 70s vibe. Even Black Sabbath, I'm a big Black Sabbath fan, their earlier stuff. You could hear some of that even with Bill Ward, even though definitely more on the R&B tip, of course, you know. But he does a lot of that kind of walking jazz. You don't hear that walking jazz, that metal as much as you used to.
Right.
The 5 stair steps, yep. Aren't the 5 stair steps from Philly too?
I no, I don't think so. I think they're in the Midwest.
Yeah.
From the Midwest.
Man,
I forget exactly.
that drummer was dope too.
Yeah, but I think one of them, the bass player, forgetting his name. He made "Keep Rising to the Top."
Keep rising to the top. That song.
Yeah,
Give it all you got.
they splintered off. They did that. The brother here says P. Michael says they came out rock at the end, but then two of them split off and did I think the Rubber Man Band, and did that nice club joint.
He said Chicago. They
All
were their
Night thing.
neighbors.
Oh no, she got my neighbor. Oh great, yeah,
Oh
Chicago.
wow. Yeah,
Mhm.
P. Michael's from Chicago too. Man,
Love it. Thank you, P. Michaels.
thanks a lot, P. Michael. I gotta, man. I'm telling you, like that's why I like doing this platform. I'm learning. Like Neely Fuller, rest in peace. That's another one we lost. He says I'm always learning. That's the whole point.
Yes.
Man.
Hold on. When did Neely Fuller pass? I'm sorry.
A few weeks ago. Yeah, like recently. I forget what date, but it was in the last few weeks. Yeah, we just lost him. I think he was in his 90s, and I heard that he had vertigo. Someone's mentioned that. I don't know where I found that, but he was up there, man. But I hope they didn't take all those old videos that he had, like, because I would listen to his tapes, you know. Like I still need to get that book though, man.
Yeah, Ronan hit me to him. We watched that stuff all the time.
Yeah, Neely Fuller was the trip. I mean, you know, like he had a lot of wisdom, man, and stuff. Some of the stuff is just like, dang, dude, you know, like just breaking all that stuff down. You know, of course, Francis Cress Welsing was his student. People don't know that. Well, I won't say people don't, but some people don't, you know. But yeah, Neely Fuller, man, he influenced a lot more than people realize, you know, like.
Yeah,
but yeah, we just lost him.
I felt like it's the latest Kendrick Lamar joint.
Say that again.
I said Rona be pulling that stuff out like it's the latest Kendrick Lamar joint.
That's tight, man. That's dope, man.
We have to understand now.
Yeah.
You sound like him. His voice.
Supposed to be talking.
Man. Yeah. What did he say? Oh man, dude! Like,
P. Michael said to go. Bye. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Thanks a lot, P. Michael. You guys follow P. Michael. P. Michael is in another band like that has influenced. I interviewed him actually a few days ago called Ono. People will often call them industrial or experimental, but they're very avant-garde and kind of ahead of their time with a lot of the things that not only that they talked about, but the way that they approach their music and putting it out. Check them out, you know, and they influence. I mean, the band Ministry, you know, people know them as the industrial band. He influenced, you know, that guy Al Jurgensen, who actually played with them at one point, you know. So that's why I love like trying to highlight all of us in what we've done, you know, because. And I'll be honest, as you see, I'm kind of like, I get too excited and I kind of mess up, and I'm sorry for all that. But the thing is, dude, I really hope, like, my thing is just like, I want everybody that's doing what we're doing to be highlighted, even if it's not on like, cool. I'm glad cats are having Grammys and stuff, you know, like we want that too. But at the same time, we got to start giving each other those accolades, you know. That's where it's going to be. We can't. The thing about us, and I don't want to be like that guy to criticize my own people, but I think a lot of times we create and we kind of leave it to everybody else, and everyone picks it up, and then they make money off of it.
Yeah, we talk about
this is all we got to claim our stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Talk about that all the time, and then have the nerve to get mad when other people are capitalizing on it.
Yes.
You know, it's a weird thing because it's almost like, as I was taught by my father, if you know the truth, you can listen to a liar all day. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you hear him come up with stuff like the whole farce that black people fell under or fell victim to in the early 80s. When we got to a point where we thought that rock and roll was not a black music.
Yes.
And MTV was part of the tool that made it look like that.
Yeah.
Like, how in the forget 1970 that Jimi Hendrix died that year.
Yes.
And then when MTV comes up 81, 82, what happened within that 11 years?
Yes.
I have a
Like,
theory
just because.
about that. If you guys want to hear the theory, I think I've discussed this before, and correct me if I'm wrong. They couldn't segregate the dance floor, so they segregated it in the industry. Think about it. I mean, the underground, of course, didn't give a rat's butt.
Yeah.
You know, you had, of course, Pure Hell and Bad Brains doing their thing, and Leon Neon. Leon Neon and Pure Hell are from Philly, by the way. Of course, you guys know that.
Yeah.
And like a lot of other black rockers, it's one of the reasons that I cover a lot of stuff in the early 70s to like the 90s, especially. But to bring it back to that, you know, you're lucky to even see somebody like a Phil Lynott, but I guess in some ways Europe didn't have as much weird stuff going on as we did. But it's a shame that the bands like Mother's Finest had to have a song called N-Words Can't Play Rock and Roll. And that's what they were commenting about. You had other people like, I forgot the brother that played with Bob Marley's band. They were doing stuff, but they're from England. And I've covered them, and it's a shame I can't remember. I'm getting old. Another thing, though, like you think of like somebody like Nicky Buzz, who was a part of that CBGB's scene in the mid 70s and then formed Vendetta in the 80s, and going to a radio station only to have some dude see him and basically break a record and say, we don't play N-words on our station because he didn't know that he was black. You know, stuff like that. They market, it's the way that they marketed it. They marketed rock and roll towards white people, and they marketed R&B, you know, towards us. Not to say that R&B is bad, because obviously I love R&B, and R&B is the roots of rock and roll. But the thing that even Nile Rodgers talked about this. Nile Rodgers even said it himself. He had the group The Big Apple. This is before they were chic. And even like the demos of the Big Apple, I haven't heard the rockier stuff. But of course, those guys, you can tell even by how they play. Or, you know, the drummer and the bass player who passed, unfortunately, and Nile. Those guys are all rock and madness. But they were a full-scale jazz rock band before they became like chic, which was still awesome. I love chic. And of course, he did his thing later on with like Duran Duran and all these other cats. But he says they said they didn't know how to market a black rock band, so we had to basically change our style. You know, so stuff like that's one of many different examples, and it's a shame. That's what went on. That to me was an industry thing, because brothers and sisters, you know, in my opinion, if I'm wrong, let me know.
Oh, that sounds about right, man.
Yeah.
It's that whole gatekeeping thing.
Yeah.
Like it don't take long to fool. It doesn't really take that long to fool a generation, and you know, into thinking something else. Like, how is it that you listening to funkadelic, Earth, Wind and Fire, Mandrill, and so forth, and you don't hear guitars up in the joint?
Yeah.
Even and Prince is a '70s artist. Let's not get it twisted.
That's right.
You know, he's coming up the late '70s with his guitar wearing, and Rick James.
Yeah.
Yep. Rick, I wrote about his rock career before he even formed the Stone City Band. All of his stuff was completely rock and roll. Yeah. Like, you know, even the stuff that he did with the funk punk still had a rock element to it, you know, like.
Yeah, then here you come with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and black people are getting upset that they're not being inducted in a timely fashion. I'm like, first of all, I don't even know why you're getting, well, you're probably getting upset because you think the industry's fair.
Yeah.
You know, you think, you know, it's going to be an even playing field, and, you know, that, I don't know if they've gotten out of that mindset yet or whatever, but they're playing the game. Your people originated rock and roll, and then you're waiting for them to give you accolades in their little club. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's like that.
Yeah.
Like how Guitar Magazine, whatever, or Guitar Player Magazine always has the poll of the top 100 guitars. And
yeah,
you're all in the shadow of Jimi Hendrix. You know to give that up. Just whatever. But they try to mess around and put Stuart Copeland as #1 some years.
Yeah.
And then the two artists that look the closest to him, play the closest to him, Ernie Isley and Roland Bautista of Earth, Wind and Fire, never get mentioned.
That's a shame.
Eddie Hazel, he doesn't get mentioned.
Come on.
Yeah. Eddie, I'll say this. My dad, My dad was like your mom, and we got to talk about your mom. My dad and my mom, I mean, they took me to my first rock and roll shows, you know. But my dad and I would get into these long conversations about Eddie Hazel and Ernie Isley. He hit me to how basically like Eddie was like Jimmy's student in that regard too. He was telling me about all kinds of stuff, and he saw these guys live. He saw the Isley brothers. He saw Jimi Hendrix. He's been to a bunch of shows. Plus, you know, he played with a lot of different musicians in different circles himself, you know, and it's just like, I literally had somebody that kind of like cultivated what I was into, aside from me recommending the instrument that I should play because there was no guitar and orchestra class. But I was lucky. But the thing is, a lot of brothers and sisters aren't, and they think, oh, that's white boys music. But then when you're listening to Super Stupid, and it's just as heavy as a Black Sabbath or Blue Oyster Cult album at that time. That dude, I'm literally headbanging, getting whiplash, listening to Alice in My Fantasies, you know, Trash a Go Go, Crack It Up at that, and Tiki Fool was drum fills and all. I'm like, dude, how could you say that's not heavy? One of the cool things too, I saw an old encyclopedia of heavy metal. I'm gonna find that book because I can't find it, but I think I went online and found it today. That mentions that mentions Funkadelic because of Maggot Brain. So yeah, all these metal revisionists with their whole thing, you know, metal started with Judas Priest, but even Rob Halford will tell you, we still have the roots with Howling Wolf. You could, I mean, people, well, that's when the blues was devoid. No, it wasn't. And still that same thing, that same vibe that we've always had with what we were talking about earlier, it still goes through the music, you know. But yeah, that's just what I'm thinking, man. Eddie Hazel should always be mentioned. He's actually second to Jimmy as far as my favorite guitarist. Man, oh my gosh, I'm all like, I'm so excited right now.
Yeah. The importance of culture as opposed to trends. You don't sell your culture.
No.
And you know, you don't do that, man. Because what happens with culture is that, you know, people bump their heads for a couple of decades, a century, and then they finally figure it out what works. You know what I'm saying? And then it has to be repeated, which is why when she came up with the Culture Rock Griot, I'm like, that's an excellent title.
It's very excellent. And I have to read this. You just reminded me of something I need to read. I like your mission statement. All hail to the ancestral energy of rock and roll. My mission is to roll out the black-studded carpet and illuminate the smoky-eyed spotlight on the African diaspora music, art, culture, and past, present, and future. That's just a whole lot right there with Culture Rock Griot, man. And let's talk about how you all, like, how that all started, too. I'm curious. Like, I didn't mean to interrupt or anything, but, like, what you were saying, keep going on that. I just had to throw that in there. I knew it was something. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. Like, I got to get a hold of myself.
The Culture Rock Griot went to Botswana, came back from Botswana. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with all the information. I'm excited because I have footage and I've learned some new things. I got to dance with the sand people. I got to do all these amazing things while I was there. But then a pandemic hits. I'm like, okay, I can't go back and get, because I knew that I wanted to go back because there was so much more to see and more information to get. So I was like, how can I bridge the gap between what I've learned, not just in Botswana, because I've been on many scenes in Detroit with Dika Wyatt. Got to give a shout out to Dika Wyatt, the Cosmic Slop Festival. Then your crew with Rosalie Brooks in LA, and meeting you, and then by folks that I met in New York, Black Gypsy. I'm going around and meet all these people that kind of on the same vibration. I'm like, there needs to be a bridge for all of us to meet some shape or form. So that's what it was initially, just a platform to introduce who I know to other people they should know. Mm-hmm. But then I started posting pictures and I started telling stories with pictures. And I realized this is something. So I started my website. This guy right here and his company invested so I can get it started.
So
Warriors Love.
Cool, man. So rad. Oh my gosh.
That's how it started.
Man, I have to say this. it's so cool to see like, you know, husband and wife rocking madness together with that as well. And just because you don't normally see that, but you guys are on the same goal and stuff, and it's really cool, you know, and just man, and man, I'm like, yeah, Culture Rock Griot, man, like seriously, it's I feel like, how could I say this? Just with the that's such a great work. Like just everything like looking at you guys from like the outside in with all the stuff that you've done, whether it's going to Botswana and even what you write about, the details of everything, the story, because you know, like, oh my gosh, dude, like it's all cool, you know, like just it's overwhelming. I can't even describe it. It's just amazing, you know, like sorry.
I get it, man. It's because, you know, when you find other intelligent life, a like-minded, yes, a like-minded folk, man. I mean, you get that vibe, man. It's we could be here all day, all night talking about it, man.
Like the show we witnessed together at the Mint the day after my show with the Transportation Band. You were there, we were there, and it's like we're the black media here covering this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How cool is that?
With the
That was
mighty,
amazing.
Yes,
That's
Norwood Fisher.
that's the whole thing though, like, and especially I'll be honest, as you probably could tell, I don't really have much of a media background, but the fact that you both have that going and just have had more of a field and even embrace what I do, I really appreciate it. And also just as, you know, a movement in that regard too, to basically saying, you know what, dude, we got to just start like rocking for ourselves, man. Forget what these, and this is the, you know, when that whole Rolling Stone thing, you know, I understood what you were saying, and was just like, okay, I don't even have to address this, and I like that because you're just like, f those cats, man, we don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
But the reason that I felt like I wanted to address it is because I had a bone to pick, and I just wanted to anyways. But I like the fact that you're just like, we got our own thing and we're working on our stuff. At least with the brief conversation that I had with you, and I totally got that. Thinking about that too, you know, it's just like we don't need their accolades, and I really appreciate that. We have to basically start rewarding ourselves and you know, not even caring about their list, but at the same time checking these cats when they're gonna say some ignorant BS like black women don't know rock and roll. Are you serious? You ever heard of Rosetta Tharpe? You ever heard of freaking like Big Mama Thornton? You ever heard of like Mabel King? Yes, that Mabel King.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it's Eric.
Marsha Hunt.
It's Eric.
You?
Come on.
Betty
Betty
Davis,
Davis.
Tina Bell.
That's right. Yep.
I met
All of them.
I met this young dude who owned, well, not owned, but was in a record shop in Philadelphia. And we talked about Betty Davis, young white guy too. And he's just like, without Betty Davis, there would be no Grace Jones or Madonna.
Yep. She did it all before them.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that they did after she did it before them.
That's right. And she was shy. Completely different, completely different personality than on stage.
Wow.
That's a Leo thing.
Say that again.
I said it's a Leo thing. Betty Davis was a Leo, and I'm a Leo, so off stage we're kind of shy and reserved. When we get on stage,
that's that lion. That's that Leo. Like, that's the lion. That man. That's a trip, man. Like, yeah, I have my mom. She had never heard of it. I'm surprised because my mom, like, she liked Chaka Khan. She, you know, she likes a lot of cool stuff like that. You know, and we watched the documentary together. It's a strange documentary because like she ended up passing after that. You know, like, and it's just like, wow, dude.
Yeah. Very strange.
And we actually attended that funeral, Hempstead, Pennsylvania. That's what it's called. Near Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Across the river.
Yeah.
You cross over the river on the bridge, and there's Pittsburgh.
Wow.
I searched high for Betty Davis, and I found her. But when I found her, I found out she was sick. So they said if she gets better, they'll see if I can interview her.
Man,
At least she didn't get better.
wow. She was kind of like you were saying, like really, she didn't go out public much, even on the movie too. Like, you can't see her.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's, man,
Well, you saw
what a
a little,
trip.
you saw a little bit more of her than you saw Sly Stone in the Sly Stone Hulu movie.
You're the
Yeah.
Yeah.
second person to tell me about that. Like, what is that movie cool? Yeah, you were telling me that. You were the one telling me about it.
Yeah, watch
Okay, I gotta see it.
it. We can compare notes, trade our cards.
Yeah, I gotta watch this just so. I think his daughter is really active in like a lot of media. I've seen her with Bridge when I went last show that I saw with Bridge Feltis. I actually played with not at that show, but I was in her band at one point. But I always forget his daughter's name. She does like a lot of like talk shows and stuff now. And I remember finding out like that she was related to him. I'm like, oh, that's heavy, like what a trip. But I wanted to ask you guys, hey, what's up, man?
Hello.
He should be asleep.
He just slipped himself up in here.
Homeschool children be trying to stay up.
This is perfect though, because I wanted to talk about the Rocksploitation band. Again, how did that all start and how did your name come about? This is perfect. We got the youth in here. Heck yeah, dude.
Rocksploitation band started in the early 2000s. I've always had amazing bandmates throughout the years. But my band, when I had this brother by the name of, he called himself Saint Croix?
Saint Scribbly
Yeah,
LaCroix.
Saint Scribbly LaCroix. He was my guy. Put paint on his face and did all the yelling in the band. Then we had Alexis, who did all the pretty singing. We had the bassist, the drummer, the keyboards. Ronan was on the bass at the time.
And I might be back on bass again because of this guy.
You play bass?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was my bassist first, and then he
bass player.
Bass player. Okay, there's a difference.
I haven't gotten to the level of bassist yet.
Player, and I had a brother by Joshi on the drums.
My man.
Yes, he's amazing. And you've seen him, you've probably seen him on my platform. Just look up Najashi. But anyway, I had that wonderful crew. I felt like we were like the P-Funk, the Sly Stone of that particular era. And we were going around doing shows. So I said, we got to have a cool name. It can't just be Ghetto Songbird. So I thought about Blaxploitation and what that did for the black folks in movies. So I took the B off and put the Rocksploitation on there. And that's how that name came about. But I kept it throughout the years because I feel like whenever I got on the stage, it's not just about me, it's about the movement. And everyone that ever played with me brought something amazing to the stage. And we had Tracine that used to play the bass as well. Chris Nelson now on keys. My son, Djembe right here on djembe and drums. Clave, my oldest son, he's on keys now. And my little guy, Kimbe, is bringing back what Saint Scribbly LaCroix did. All the theatric stuff, minus the paint on the face.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is so cool, man. Like, seriously. Like, yeah, that's awesome. So, Djembe, I have to ask you this. How long have you been playing, man? And I like your name a lot.
This is Djembe.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was wondering. I was asking him how long you've been playing.
How long you been playing?
I've been told since I was born.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's so cool, man. That is mad cool.
It was maybe 3-4 years ago when it was established that he could play.
Yeah.
You know, for real, like maybe like, yeah, it was during the pandemic.
Yeah, he started playing his blues. He put his blues into the drums. He's very frustrated during the pandemic, and he would just get on the drums and start playing. And he said, one day, Mommy, I'm going to be on stage with you. I was like, probably no time soon. I'm thinking when he's a teenager. Just keep practicing. One day, he blew my mind. He literally played the drums for us last Thursday. We just did a show. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. Man, don't quit. Never quit, man. And your parents are inspiring. They inspire me. So I know they're inspiring you. Don't ever quit.
Because
what's that?
I said I'm inspired by him because every day, everyday life is what it is, adulting and all that stuff. When I hear them practice and them do what they do, it inspires me. I need to get on my instrument and I need to get back to ghetto songbird.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the way it should be though, man. Like it's just, man, that's that energy. That's how it rolls. Like it's just. I'll say this, like my parents, I don't know if I ever told you this, but the first band outside of orchestra that I was in was my parents' band.
Really?
My parents had a group. Yeah, and their group was a trip because it's like, you can say in message they're kind of a gospel group, but people hearing that, they're not going to think that. They're going to think Sade, they're going to think of jazz fusion, they're going to think of some elements of rock. They were a mix of everything because that's how just my parents are very eclectic. So as a youth, like my dad put me out on stage, I learned his songs, him and my mom's song. But then it's like, I messed up. And the thing is, my dad's like, my mom was like, she didn't want me to like get on stage because she didn't want me to feel embarrassed. But my dad's all, he's got it, man. Next year I slayed it. It was dope. So like, you have great parents that are cultivating you, man. And I know what that's like because my mom and dad cultivated me with just music. And like, it's so cool to see like people your age, playing. I work with kids actually too, but just like parents in a band together with their youth, that's really cool, man. Like seriously, like, man, keep at it. I'm sorry, I'm like talking. This is awesome.
I want to come down to Instant Band one day and rock with y'all.
Yes, please do. And I know you guys would dig it. It's all freestyle. We got the Sound Army. Like, I mean, we're about to celebrate our anniversary next month, but yeah, a lot of them, started when they were very, very small. And some of them now are adults doing their own bands and stuff. It's crazy.
Wow.
So, and then whenever I see kids play, I love it, man. When I saw you play with your mom and your brothers, man, like, I was like, this is dope, man. Like, seriously, it's always cool to see youth doing that, man. And it amazes me. Because, I mean, I started, like, bass when I was 13, That's still kind of, like, old. And, he's way younger than when I started. So it's just, like, and I taught myself drums, but I think of kids that are as young as they are, and it's just like, wow, dude. That's just remarkable, like just to see a little one like rock it. My grandnephew, I got him a guitar. Then they showed me a video of him singing. He's just turned 2 on his guitar, and I was laughing. I'm like, this is crazy, dude. Like, you guys got me all cheesing and stuff.
And it's a beautiful.
It's beautiful.
I tell them, whenever they just want to ease off. Good night, my man.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey, thanks for coming by and rocking with us, man. Nice shirt, by the way.
I tell them whenever they want to ease off, or just play games or play around too much when they're not practicing. I'm like, look, man. When I was your age, I had to go to the mall or the store to be able to play instruments because I didn't have everything here.
Wow.
Got everything in the house at their disposal.
Yes.
That's a blessing. Yeah, I mean, I was telling some of those youth too. I mean, I was lucky to have things around me, but like, if I didn't have that, I don't know where I would have been. Because like some of these youth, they have, at the places that I work at, they have instruments. One of them even has a studio. But like, man, like if I didn't have like some of the things, and it wasn't easy for us to really come by, and that's a whole other story. Like, I don't know where I would be. So it's pretty cool that you even found that place. It was those times, like not everyone could just like afford like certain things, and it just, it's a trip, man. How we all just like, like I think my uncle gave me my first bass, and I don't even know where he got it from, man. I used to put that thing against the wall just to hear the sound of it. Talk about the ghetto amplifier.
Hey, speaking of which, I found out, and maybe you have seen this. If you ever want to learn the bass line to a song for real, if you don't read it, go in the next room and listen to the song, because something about the amplitudes of the sound of the bass, the amplitude, vibrates thicker through solid. Like if you notice, the sound travels a whole lot faster through solid than it does the air.
Yes.
Because the
Ooh,
molecules solid, you know, they're a lot closer. You know what I'm saying?
that's a
Now
trip.
maybe with liquid, who knows? I mean, of course it's not as tight as solid, but it's more tight through air. So, you know, even through air you hear it, but it's like you get the Doppler effect or you get the echo, or something could be like 100 yards away and you hear it a little bit later. You know, but when it comes through the ground or through a solid, you're gonna feel it more. So try it. When you listen to a song and listen to it in the next room.
Yes.
To catch the bass line, you'll hear it a whole lot better because you don't have the other higher frequencies in the way.
And it's, speaking of the bass, it's nothing like feeling the bass. You can hear it, but I need to feel it too. If I don't feel it, that means it's not thick enough. Got to turn some more bass in the bass. That's how I like my rock and roll.
Yeah,
That's what
I'm like this. Even though you've seen me with my bass distortion, like I gotta at least have like I have to have a balance when it comes to like just that grit. Even when I plugged my upright in, I had a really cool pedal that got that grit. It's like you're digging up the concrete with the bass. Like I don't want all high end. I want it to feel like like it's a growling. Like that's gotta have that grit, that low end. I gotta have that, you know, like even like when I'm playing, like me and Solar, one of my sounds, Solar Audio Doom, it's our doom metal thing that we do, doom, free doom, we call it. Like that thing has to be thick, like it's just me and him. So I'm like, okay, if it's gonna be a doom like thing, I want to make sure that that bass is heard like from the bottom to the top, and that it's like, like.
yes.
Sorry, but you know what I'm saying, like that thick distortion, you know, like that. If it's gonna be distorted, it has to have that full bass throttle. That's what I'm looking
Yeah.
for, that throttle,
Okay.
you know.
And this is probably why a lot of us couldn't get into rock and roll the way it was in the 80s, especially. Because if you listen to a lot of records, R&B included, a lot of the bass was taken out of these records.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Why did they in the '70s? It was all there. That's
A
weird.
lot of the thickness is
Changing the
taken out.
frequency. That's
Changing
what it is.
frequency. A lot of bass guitar was played with pick, you know, the high end. Then you had that synth bass that wasn't as deep. It wasn't until hip hop in the late 80s when they started coming with that, with, you know, Boogie Down
That
Productions and
boom bap.
come with that goom, goom, goom. And it is funny. I think a lot of and I love them, but a lot of our heroes who were told that they had to get some hip hop in their music in the late 80s, early 90s, I think some of them missed the mark because the things that hip hop sampled and are deemed as classics was their older stuff from the early
Yep.
70s,
Yeah,
not the pop hits,
Nope.
exactly.
you know?
That's
It
why
was,
Ron Carter, when he did that with Tribe Called Quest, some of the stuff he did, man, that blew my mind. I'm like that, and I ended up like doing hip hop stuff in the '90s, like session stuff, but like that was an influence on me. What he did with them, and it's just like my dad had those albums, you know, and just hearing the way that he played is so melodic, but at the same time, it's like I'm glad this is towards the early '90s now. At least he was one of those cats that are like, okay, they're doing it this way, or maybe it's just that like, you know, Shaheed and all those cats like Q-Tip and all like, okay, nah, do it this way, like you did it back in the day, you know, like it's yeah. I it's funny you mentioned that because a lot of the '80s, everything was just like too synthesized, man. I didn't even have an appreciation to synthesizers. I got tired of all like the new wave stuff and some of the pop stuff. It was just boring. And then I got into like people like Keith Emerson, Herbie Hancock, freaking you know, Rick Wakeman, and like all these prog rock and fusion players. That gave me a bit different appreciation for synthesizers that I had. And then Funkadelic, of course, you know, like Parliament and all them, Bernie Worrell, you know, and like, oh, that's how. And then, of course, a lot of hip hop was sampling those cats too, you know, like, man.
yeah.
That's insane.
Can't forget
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder.
Oh
Yeah.
man, come on.
Stevie Wonder, that guy, he's a
That's like
whole genre within himself.
he is like the Pope of music.
Yeah.
2019, I brought it to Nam with me. We just finished seeing Larry Dunn doing
Oh, you
his.
can't forget Larry Dunn.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's my man right there. We just finished seeing him doing a demonstration at the Casio booth.
Who's Larry Dunn? I don't know if I've heard him. Shame on me.
You might not know the name, but you know the keys. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh,
The tall, light skin.
yeah, definitely. They had such a big band, man. That's crazy. Yeah, of course.
He had the massive keyboard set up. You know, he said one time Maurice's brother Jerry, rest in peace, who was their road manager at the time, came to him and said, "Hey, man, it says you got the biggest keyboard rig in all music, man." And Larry's just like, "And?" He said because it wasn't a thing where, you know, they didn't really have programming right then.
Yeah.
He had to have every keyboard at his disposal when they did their magic tricks and everything. He said it wasn't like Maurice could say, "All right, we're going to take a break so Larry can program some keyboards and program some things so we can do this magic trick." That's why when you look at the concerts, you see him constantly moving, because not only is he playing the songs, but he's setting up for the magic tricks and all this. And as young as he was the youngest before Fred White came in the band permanently. He was the youngest, and he was the music director.
Wow. Man.
Yeah. 18 years old.
Larry done
18.
a lot.
Yeah, when he first came in that band, early 1972, he was 18.
Yes.
Man, weren't they all playing with Gene Carn and all those cats before Doug Carn and all them?
Doug Carn and Gene Carn, the couple, they helped Earth, Wind, and Fire with the first team from Chicago.
Yeah.
You'll see Need of Love, which is technically the third album, because their first album was Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song. The sound.
Oh wow, the movie.
Yeah, they did the first black soundtrack, Earth, Wind, and
I
Fire.
didn't know that. That's a trip.
And the way they did it, they recorded the whole thing while looking at the movie.
Wow.
Then came the self-titled album and The Need of Love. And then that band broke up, and it came Philip Bailey and Ralph Johnson first. Ralph Johnson was the first, you know.
I have to say this, from those early years, one of my favorite tunes, and I didn't find out until later, even though my dad had a lot of their albums, but that One Bad Tune is one of my favorites, and Brand Nubian used it later for Dance to My Ministry. They sped it up.
That's
right.
But
that bass solo that Verdine does, Verdine is another bass player that just like, that guy is a monster, man. Oh, that guy, like, and he's tall.
Yes.
Dude, I shook his hand and it just took over. It was like my hand disappeared.
Yeah, man. They did a whole lot. That whole squad, man. They were very groundbreaking and fearless. That's the cool thing with fearless. And Michael Beale, their first guitarist, he tried to carry over, but he didn't carry over to the Last Days in Time album. You know, he's right there in LA still.
And that's a good album. I remember the cover. The album covers were epic, especially that one.
Oh.
My dad had, man. That's when, like, it's a trip, like the 70s, which was a huge influence on my playing too. That was like, it was the most eclectic decade for rock and roll and R&B music. Like, you could not put any of those cats like in just a set thing. Like, it was all different. It was like a bouquet of roses, you know, like even when you talk about funk, you know, you had, of course, James sounded it off, you know, and I mean, we could talk about stuff before that, but James was that guy. But then you had, of course, Funkadelic, and then Earth, Wind, and Fire, you know, like, and then like the Commodores. I mean, all these guys are all different, you know, like, it's a trip, you know. And then don't talk about Kool and the Gang, who actually started off way different than what they became known as, you know, like.
Come on. You know, and their concepts had to match. The album covers matched the whole. Everything was a statement.
Yes.
That's like when she makes a stage show, she'll have something in her head for whatever the occasion is, and she's like, okay, we got to wear this. And, you know, she's dancing this here and it has to come in this way, this intro. She's got a whole thought process in mind. You know, everything is a stage show. Everything is a concept and one thought, you know, when she does stuff. And sometimes like, I don't want to do this, man. You're like, come on. My chest out, you know. I'm like, come on, man. Hey, I do my push-ups today, man.
Man, I need to start doing that, man. At least you got the buffness, man. That's funny. He said, I don't want to have my chest.
I just can't eat nothing right before the show because, you know, I'll lose it right after I work. But
one tour, like it's all the time. That was just one tour.
Man.
But she, you know, she could. That's why, you know, with the Culture Rock Griot and just the rock exploitation band, you know, everything is a concept which honestly lasts longer than just a performance or a show. You know, you may do some wild antic or anything, or you may just have some good music. That's cool. But when you have a whole stage production in like 20 minutes, you know, or whatever time slot they're giving you, I mean, it sticks with them. It's a lot more impressionable.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Definitely.
almost like hot grits. It ain't going to leave your chest that easy.
Oh, man, dude. He went there. You got love and happiness in my head right now, man. Like,
If it's flaky, it's flaky. It's going to fall off, you know.
Man.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Hot grit's going to stick to you, inside or outside.
Yo.
Oh, man. So Al Green, man. I'm not saying nothing, but man, everybody felt that, dude. Anytime somebody mentions that, everyone's like, "Oh, that's insane, man." It sounds like.
Don't ask me why I thought of that. It's just on my mind. But
I got what you meant by it, though, and it made sense. Like it will not erase your memory, and that stuff, yeah, it will stick.
Yeah.
That's a good performance. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, that's a good analogy to it, you know, but I ain't gonna lie, I had to do that stuff. And I wasn't even grits will never be the same for me, man. No brother or sister ever, if they know what's going on, they don't think of grits in the same way. They think of it in two different ways now instead of one.
Yo.
Sorry about that. Like, we're all laughing.
that's why I love performing with her. Even when I wasn't performing with her, I thought she was like very, very cool and unique. It was just, she was with a band in, was it the Black Lily? It was in the Five Spot, most definitely.
Spot, not the Black
but
Lily.
it was a different venue.
Wow.
She got up and she was on the guitar. She had a short curly afro at the time. And I forget exactly what the song was, but it was a little fast paced. And she was just doing like cool hand tricks with a guitar and everything. And I'm like, oh, this girl's kind of cool. You know? And and I'm an artist, you know. It's like musicians are like paint to me. It's an easel. Like I can hear this with this. Hear this with this. And it's like it'd be cool to hear her or work with her in certain things, you know.
Man. So that's how you guys met?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and she gave me I was like, hey, I just wanted to
Oh
shake her
God, you're
hand.
about to tell a
Like,
story.
hey man, he's like, real, you were good up there. She's like, here, take one of my flyers. And then I'm like, just blew me off. I'm trying to compliment you. That's it. Like, whatever. I mean, I kept it. And but then she saw me around doing certain things like singing and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So, it was just real cool. Like one time she had a show, she was hanging in my apartment, and my apartment was very orderly. You know, I didn't even have I slept on my futon. I didn't even have a bed in my bedroom. That's where my instruments were.
Wow.
Yeah,
My
I
drum
remember that.
kit, my bass guitar sitting up there, my keyboard in the other room, and I left room to walk.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't jumbled or anything like that. So she was trying to get a show together, and our band members weren't coming together. She's like, "Oh my, I need a bassist. Oh my God, I need a bass player." I just sat there, looked at her like,
You looking right at him.
like, what do you think this is? So, and I wasn't really. Oh, I mean, I was decent on bass, but her way she wrote was kind of difficult to the point where other bassists who are actually more accomplished, they're looking like, I don't know how to get this. You I don't know if it's the way she played, on guitar primarily because she didn't write from the bass; it was the guitar.
Yes.
But the way she played, like they had cast like my man Hondo, Drew Felder, who's out there in the Bay Area, my brother. He had difficulty playing her stuff. I'm
Wow.
like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
From a guitar point of view, not a bass point of view. So the placement is like she all the way down here and going all the way up there.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And of course, if you're a bassist, your acts well. I mean, you can get more colorful with it, but then there's a such thing as doing too much.
Yeah.
You do too much on it, it's just like you lose the meaning of the song.
Yes.
So
And that's why I like working with Ronan, because he never does too much. He does just enough. And then he brings these sprinkles of unexpected jewels. Like sometimes we're rocking out, whatever, he does something like, oh, okay, wow. I love when that happens because we rehearse together. And when we rehearse, it's not like everything we do is basically the basic in rehearsal. When we go to stage, we don't know with each other what we're going to do once we're on stage. We just know that everybody's going to play the basic blueprint. But once we get on stage and the music hits us, who knows what's coming out. So that chemistry is very strong. And I love the fact that we feed off of each other's energy. Got to give a shout out to Chris Nelson, keyboardist in the Reputation Band, because he's been with the band since, well, we've been working together since 2005, but he's been
Wow.
in and out because he was in college. He was younger than me. He was in college, so he had to quit the band for a minute. Then he came back. But now it's a thing where we know each other so well. I can throw a new song at them, and once we get on the stage, they know exactly where to go and what to do. And if there is any mistakes, everybody knows how to paint it and make it something special.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I dig about, like, even like freestyling or improvising, even if you have that structure, the fact that, because I mean, even if you look at it, even again, those bands from the 60s and 70s, yeah, a lot of them were structured, but they knew how to, like, just thinking of even especially Jimi Hendrix and bands like, like in that particular cadre of cats, they knew how to like expand even within the blueprint. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's just like, man, I dig stuff like that. That's pretty dope.
I don't like being overly rehearsed. I like some magic to happen.
Mm.
And you guys be throwing the magic out there, no cap. Speaking of that, when are we going to see a recording from the Rocksploitation Band?
Good question.
Sorry, I wanted to get all animated. Like,
I know. My fault is on me. I've been so much a performance artist over the years that I never just sat down. I've never sat down and mapped out this journey at all. It happened. My brother referred me to a spoken word artist to play with him. And the spoken word artist told the venue that you need to book her because she has her own songs. And it's just been going nonstop without me actually sitting down and making a plan of how I want to go through things. I think it's almost 23 years I've been doing this, 24, something like that. So I've never sat down until the pandemic, and I realized, okay, it's time to record all of this music. And I have my sons now playing with me. So I was like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason, because they'll play on all these songs that I've been playing since 2001 up to now. There's live recordings of things like based on stage. So incorporate stuff like that in there so you can hear who I was way back when versus people who have those catalogs from way back to now. I don't have that catalog on a physical album, but I do have that catalog through video. But I want to figure out a way to incorporate that into the new recordings, which is old music.
Yeah. And then you have to, because there was a Ghetto Songbird album coming out after the first EP with 2008, 2009.
Yes, yeah.
But the way it came out, the end result, you know, we listened to it. She was like, I can't put this out there like this. And we never got around to it, you know. And, you know, there's no love lost at all with, you know, the people we were working with. It just wasn't to their satisfaction. And you got to think about that, you know, because I had that happen with an album I put out, like 2001. It was R&B, but it was all the stuff I like. You know, you had some jazz, fusion, funk. It's called Free Spirit. And my man DJ Collage, who's on here, Kalajj, one of my best friends since '88. He saw me in my room, my parents' attic. I recorded pretty much the whole thing: drums, keyboard, bass, and all this other stuff. My vocals on a Yamaha mini disc 4-track recorder
That you still have to this day.
That I still have. Yeah.
Keep that, man.
Crystal.
Get all those recorders. Don't even,
Dude.
Man, like the Porter 3 that I got, man. I'm glad that I found it. I thought something had happened to it. All my old turbulent stuff and stuff that I never released is on that. Keep all that stuff, man.
Crystal clear. But you know what happened? When I found out about disc makers, this is 2002, and I brought my band back together after I got out the Air Force and some new cats. They talked about wavelength files. Like, you have to send. I'm like, what's a wavelength file? And the only person I knew was my keyboardist at the time, cat we called Doc, Nathan Jones. And he recorded the thing, the wave file. And I'm like, why is the sound sounding so degraded? But at the time, I didn't know anything better. I'm like, well, maybe they'll fix it with the mastering, you know. Mastering has nothing to do with the clarity of the sound. They just fix the balances and all of that. They balance everything out. So here I get this album sounding like it's on a Maxell UR tape. And I played it. Some people caught it. Some people understood. They got it. Like, okay, it's a nice ride. But other cats, especially in Philly, yeah, man, it sounds good for what you did in the house. And I'm like, but, you know, there's somebody, yeah, it sounds good for what you did in the attic, man. Yeah, but, you know, so, yeah, man, it sounds good, but, you know, you need somebody to clean this up. You know?
See, that wasn't my issue, though.
Yeah, man, some people, yeah, this sound good. Then you get one brother, you know, don't sell this to nobody.
Yeah, that wasn't my issue. My issue, for some reason, as a woman that wants to produce her own album, they always think that I can't do it, so they'll get in the way of that, and they start changing things. The engineer wanting to be the producer, so that's always been it. Yeah.
It's one thing if you're a black artist, but especially because you're a woman as well. You know, it's just like, okay, how could I not? You know, like Missy Elliott knows what she's doing. You know, like, I mean, shoot, Ginya Raven knows what they're. I mean, there's a lot of different cats. You know, like. That, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, you know your own sound. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. You know, like, I'm sorry that you even went through that, man. Like, but I don't know, man. Are you guys doing anything, other separate projects aside from like Rocksploitation and like, of course you have Ghetto Songbird, but is there any other things that, you know, musically that you guys are involved in as well? That
my children band, fam. I'm very involved in managing them and just helping them to polish what they create. They actually just had a meet and greet with Cool and the Gang, and they had a
What?
chance in front of him and get his not a critique but approval and advice on what they did.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
yeah. So just being on their journey has been a very rewarding opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's what I've been giving most of my attention to, their journey. And I got to get back to myself.
Well, you guys, seriously, like, just amazing people. Like, I'm sometimes I'm kind of like so giddy in this interview because you guys are very, you know, very, like, I'm like losing my words. That's how excited I am. You guys are very inspirational, like, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing, like, with your family and all that stuff too. And I mean, seriously, it it's all something that I think that, as far as, like, even when we're talking about rock and roll, it's a part of the same thing. It's a part of the same cultivation that we've all come up with, even if, like, it's from other sources of music too. And the fact that you guys not only have, you guys have your own community within your family, but you've also have expanded the community with people like myself, as well as, like, people overseas. That says a whole lot about you guys and just the legacy that you guys are all, like, about. I really appreciate you cats, man. Like, seriously. And I hope it don't sound like I'm just like, I'm kind of, believe it or not, just really happy and excited.
Mm-hmm.
So I might kind of sound like, and I know it's hella late over there.
1:00 in the morning.
Oh, Lord of mercy. So here's the thing. I want you guys to not only give your websites, but also give your Cash App or Venmo or whatever, but also give a word of wisdom, both of you.
Yeah.
Go for it. Sorry, I didn't realize how late. I'm so sorry.
Cool, man. It's cool. I'll say get your own self. I always say that. I was
going to say that.
Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Great minds think alike together.
Own self and think in terms of culture. You know what I'm saying?
I was going to say that.
And we got many cultures around the globe. We're not just here. We're not just in one spot in Africa. We're not just in Jamaica. We got a lot to draw from, man. But be true to yourself. When you're true to yourself, you can add on to the pot,
And you can find him under where? Ronan Ali?
Hanes or BVDs, whatever I choose. What? Underwear.
Oh, I did something on my back.
Oh my
Oh, ouch. That was funny. I'm like, wait a minute. That was a good one. Hilarious, man.
No, on here you can find me under VTHE _ Ronin RONIN _ B Ali ALI, or you can find me under Warriors Love Entertainment, which is on Instagram, and there's a couple more.
Just go to Ronan Ali.
And you'll find everything from there.
Yes. All right. Man, he said everything I wanted to say. Stay true to yourself and true to who you are, your lineage, your ancestral energy. Be in line with who you are. Don't worry about what someone else is doing, because competition is not of the culture. Again, competition is not of the culture. Find your own voice, find your own lane, collaborate with others who are like-minded, and make sure you stay in line with the universe or whatever you believe in wants you to do, because your purpose is already inside of you. You just got to tap deep into it. And I believe if you follow that energy, whatever you believe in, it'll lead you right to where you belong. Because I've never said that I want to be this, I want to be that. I knew I was creative, but I've been following the calling. Wherever I go, whether it's being an artist, a journalist, a historian. None of that was like, oh, when I grow up, that's what I want to be. I followed the calling. Some people know early, some people know later. You don't have to worry about what the next person is doing. Just worry about your journey and have fun. I'm having so much fun at this point in my life. I'm not worrying about chasing no deals. I'm not worried about chasing anybody's artistry or anything. I'm just having fun with my family and fun being me. And also for those who yearn to have families, align yourself to your calling, because this is a huge world out there. Travel, learn and meet new people, because you never know, yours might be somewhere else on this planet. It might not be where you are right now. So just keep the faith and enjoy life as it comes. Peace and love.
Great. Scott, awesome, man. That was awesome. That's some word right there. Both of you guys, man. I really appreciate it. You have a Cash App or anything that do you guys want to put for donations or anything like that too?
Well, first of all, you can find me under Ghetto Songbird here on Instagram and Ghetto Songbird on Facebook. You can follow me there. theculturerockgrill.com and Cash App, yes, GSB Hollins.
Yep.
Thank you
Say
so
that again, just so people could get their donation on. Everybody, like I have to. It's funny. Safra actually got me on this. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna ask this every time. I'm glad that you guys are rocking. Give the Cash App, everybody, y'all. Like, send some money in. You're giving to a great cause. I like to see, you know, artists like y'all like rocking madness and being supported. And anything with Botswana coming up or
Yes, we decided that 2026 would be the next return to Botswana.
man, and that's like when is a documentary like? Is it going to be in film form or more like kind of like? I mean, I know you guys have been doing things in print, but is it going to be like a whole film like made from that or?
I do know leading up to their Winter Mania Festival this year, I'm going to release something, but it's going to be more of a short
Mm,
because I feel like I'm still doing the research. I need to go over there one more time and make sure I have everything I want before the actual documentary is completed in my mind. So yes,
that's awesome.
I will release a short form before May 2025, or at least 5.
How is that? How is that scene? I forgot to. I know you kind of touched on it, but like, how is that scene over there when it comes to even a lot of the stuff that we were even talking about? Like, is it just like how would you describe it versus a lot of what's going on here?
Blackity black, black, black. A sea of black folks rocking out, supporting each other, loving on each other, lifting each other up, having fun, getting litty lit. They're rocking out, black leather, fringes. Oh man,
The
amazing.
cowboy hats too.
They have hats, and they have it's more of a movement than it is just bands, and they all come together and they have their shows pretty late because a lot of them work during the day. They have jobs like they're
Mm,
lawyers, doctors, and
wow,
come together late at night and rock till like 6 a.m. in the morning. Yes,
that's
and then get
amazing.
up the next day and do it all over again for that
Wow.
fun.
Well, man, thanks a lot for even telling us that. And shoot, I got to make my way to Botswana one of these days, and to Kenya too. Kick it up with Mildred. Like
Mm-hmm.
our, our sister Mildred is awesome.
Yeah, she is.
Um, man, thank you guys. Thanks a lot. And I'm sorry I went so late, but you guys are amazing. You guys rock madness. And man,
Keep,
I'm gonna say it.
keep still. I want to take a quick screenshot. Smile. Got it.
Did my knee get in the way? I hope not. Oh man, well, thank you guys. You guys are amazing, man. Like seriously,
Thank you.
man. So we signing off. Shouts to Rocksploitation. Culture Rock Griot, freaking like Ghetto Songbird. What's wrong with me? Oh man, Ronan Ali and Samantha Hollins, man. Like, and just man, you guys are amazing. Peace and blessings to you. We signing off, y'all. Black history of rock and roll. Black history of rock and roll. Black history of rock and roll. Peace. Bésame a woman festival. I mean, word.